In August 1915, on the Gallipoli Peninsula of the Ottoman Empire, a British infantry battalion advanced inland under direct orders and was never accounted for again. The movement took place during a renewed Allied offensive, intended to break a months-long stalemate along the coast. No confirmed engagement, surrender, or withdrawal was recorded. What remained was a gap between official reports and the disappearance of more than 200 men. By the summer of 1915, the Gallipoli Campaign had already earned a reputation for failure. What had begun as a strategic effort to force the Dardanelles and open a supply route to Russia had deteriorated into a costly deadlock. Allied troops occupied narrow coastal footholds, while Ottoman forces held the high ground inland. The geography of the peninsula favored defense. Steep ridges, tangled ravines, and scrub-covered slopes limited movement and visibility. Life on the Gallipoli front was defined by scarcity and exhaustion. Fresh water was rationed, food supplies were inconsistent, and disease spread rapidly through overcrowded positions. Heat during the day and cold at night strained already weakened soldiers. Accurate maps were rare, and much of the interior terrain remained poorly understood by Allied command. Despite these conditions, pressure to achieve progress increased. In early August, senior commanders authorized a new offensive centered around Suvla Bay. The plan called for rapid advances inland to seize key elevations before Ottoman defenses could fully respond. Coordination between units was limited, and communication infrastructure was fragile. Orders were often delivered late, amended in the field, or based on incomplete intelligence. Among the forces assigned to the operation was the 1/5th Battalion of the Norfolk Regiment. The unit was part of the territorial force, composed largely of volunteers rather than professional soldiers. Many of the men came from rural England and had joined together out of a sense of local duty. While they had undergone training, few had experienced sustained combat before arriving at Gallipoli. The battalion was tasked with advancing toward a lightly wooded area near what was later identified as Hill 60. The objective was loosely defined, and the terrain between the starting position and the target was exposed and uneven. Supporting units were positioned at a distance, with limited ability to observe or assist once the advance began. As preparations were made, there were no recorded speeches or notable events. The situation allowed little room for ceremony. Equipment was checked, formations assembled, and orders repeated. The men were instructed to move forward and maintain direction as best they could. When the signal was given, the battalion left its position and advanced inland, moving into terrain where visibility, communication, and certainty would rapidly diminish. The advance began in the early afternoon. Almost immediately, the battalion's cohesion weakened as the terrain forced the men out of formation. Dry gullies, low ridges, and patches of scrub disrupted lines of sight, making it difficult for officers to maintain control or relay adjustments. Within minutes, sections were advancing independently, guided more by general direction than by direct command. Enemy resistance was uneven. Small arms fire was reported from the flanks, but there was no sustained engagement that would account for the battalion's full disappearance. Artillery support, limited and imprecise, fell behind the advancing troops. Communication lines failed to keep pace. Field telephones were useless beyond the initial positions, and runners were slowed or redirected by the terrain. From the rear, observers attached to neighboring units reported a strange and persistent feature on the hillside ahead. A dense, low-lying cloud appeared over the area toward which the Norfolk Battalion was moving. Unlike smoke from shelling, it did not rise or disperse. Despite a steady breeze, the cloud remained fixed in place, pressed close to the ground. As the battalion advanced, its forward elements entered the cloud. From a distance, soldiers were seen passing into the haze, their figures gradually dissolving into indistinct silhouettes before vanishing entirely. No increase in gunfire followed. No movement emerged on the far side. The advance continued in this manner, one group after another disappearing from view. By late afternoon, the cloud lifted slowly and drifted away from the hillside. The ground it had covered appeared unchanged. No troops emerged. No signal or message came back. Attempts to re-establish contact failed. As evening approached, it became clear that the battalion had not reformed beyond the objective, nor had it withdrawn to its starting position. Roll calls conducted that night confirmed that more than 200 men were missing. No wounded from the unit arrived at medical stations. No prisoners were reported by Ottoman forces operating in the area. Initial explanations focused on confusion and miscommunication. It was assumed that the battalion had advanced too far, become isolated, and suffered heavy casualties out of sight. Yet no clear evidence supported this conclusion. What remained was a stretch of hillside, an absence of movement, and a growing uncertainty that would follow the battalion long after the day's fighting ended. In the days that followed, the disappearance of the Norfolk Battalion became increasingly difficult to explain. Search parties were dispatched along the route of the advance, moving cautiously through terrain that remained under intermittent fire. The ground was examined for signs of a large engagement, spent ammunition, disturbed earth, makeshift graves, but little was found. Military records from neighboring units provided no clarity. Reports referenced the battalion's movement forward but offered no confirmation of contact with the enemy. Maps drawn after the fact showed estimated positions rather than verified ones. Many officers who might have clarified the sequence of events were themselves casualties or had been reassigned during the continuing operations. Ottoman records added further uncertainty. Post-war inquiries would later indicate that no organized engagement with a British battalion occurred in that specific area on that day. No mass surrender was recorded. No concentration of prisoners corresponding to the missing men appeared in official documentation. Over time, fragments of evidence emerged. Several years after the war, a small number of remains were discovered scattered across the hillside. Identification was limited, but the location suggested that elements of the battalion had advanced far beyond the range of support. The remains did not form a coherent line or position. There was no indication of a defensive stand. The lack of a defined moment of destruction distinguished the incident from other losses at Gallipoli. There was no final report marking the battalion's collapse, no recorded order to withdraw, and no signal indicating that the objective had been reached or abandoned. Instead, the battalion's presence simply faded from operational records. As official histories of the campaign were compiled, the incident was summarized briefly or omitted entirely. The disappearance was absorbed into broader accounts of confusion and failure, its details reduced to footnotes or speculation. What remained unresolved was not only how the battalion was lost, but when. The absence of a precise point of destruction left a void in the timeline of the campaign, an interval in which orders were carried out, movement was observed, and then nothing followed. The battalion did not reappear in subsequent operations. Its final position, like its final moments, remained undefined. When the Gallipoli campaign ended, the peninsula was evacuated and the war moved on. Positions were abandoned, trenches collapsed, and temporary records were packed away or discarded. The disappearance of the Norfolk Battalion did not alter the outcome of the campaign, and for that reason, it received limited attention in official summaries. In the months that followed, the missing men were gradually reclassified. With no confirmed accounts of survival or captivity, they were declared dead for administrative purposes. No specific date could be assigned. No clear cause was recorded. Families were notified with formal language that offered certainty without detail. For those left behind, the absence was unresolved. There were no graves to visit, no final dispatches to preserve. Names appeared on regimental rolls and memorials alongside others lost at Gallipoli, indistinguishable from men whose deaths had been witnessed and documented. As years passed, the incident faded from public discussion. Official histories favored measurable outcomes: territory gained or lost, casualties counted, objectives failed. An event defined by uncertainty did not fit easily into these narratives. References to the battalion's disappearance became brief, cautious, and infrequent. The hillside where the advance ended remained largely unchanged. No markers traced the route the men had taken. The scrub grew back. The ground absorbed the disturbance of the search parties and returned to stillness. Without a defined site of destruction, there was nothing to preserve as a battlefield. Over time, speculation replaced documentation. Witness accounts were revisited, questioned, and often dismissed. What could not be verified was set aside. The cloud reported by observers became a detail without context, recorded but unexplained, then gradually ignored. The battalion did not leave behind a final moment that could be commemorated. It left only an absence in the record, a space where orders had been followed and then dissolved into silence. In the broader memory of the war, the men of the Norfolk Battalion did not return as a story. They returned as a list of names, and eventually, as a footnote. The ground they advanced into offers no explanation. It remains quiet, holding neither answers nor reminders, only the trace of a movement that never came back.